Hi and welcome to today's episode of Talking Fertility, where I'll be coming to you live every Monday morning at 11 a.m. talking all things fertility. Now, if you're in Melbourne like I am, I hope you're staying warm. I feel like winter's already upon us, and you'll have to excuse if I croak every now and again. I feel like I'm catching a case of the winter bugs. But today I'm going to be talking about a nutrient that I am quite passionate about, and that's choline. Now, you may never have heard of this lesser-known nutrient, but it plays a vital role in reproductive health, yet 90% of us aren't getting enough. So today I'll be talking a bit about why it is so important, why you may never have heard of it, and how you can boost your levels to support your reproductive function. Now, first of all, I'll start off with, what is choline? So choline forms a vital part of every cell in our body. It is a key component of our cell walls. Basically, choline helps provide strength and assist in the communication between cells as well. So it supports nerve signals and muscle contraction, as well as providing a good basis for the absorption of important nutrients. So basically, choline helps keep our cell walls healthy. It keep our cells protected and enable them to chat between themselves, which is obviously critically important for optimal functioning and particularly for optimal brain functioning and brain development when we're talking about a pregnancy. So with its role in healthy development, choline is particularly important during preconception, pregnancy, and right through breastfeeding as well. Choline is needed for cellular division, for tissue expansion, lipoprotein synthesis, and one-carbon metabolism, basically all of which are accelerated during pregnancy. So during this crucial time, it supports neural tube development and closure and reduces the risk of neural tube defects alongside folate, of course, which I talked about in a previous episode. The neural tube, as I talked about then, develops and closes within the first 5 weeks of pregnancy, which is before you may even be aware you are pregnant. So it's really important to have plenty of choline already available prior to conception to facilitate all that really rapid growth and development. It has also been shown to reduce the risk of miscarriage. It supports healthy brain development, as I was talking about with that component in the signaling between cells. And it can help to support lifelong learning and memory in the infant as well. It's been shown to reduce stress and anxiety in the infant, and it supports, particularly in the early stage of pregnancy, supports healthy growth and development of the placenta, which is so important, which is, the only source of nutrition for this developing baby. And choline is so important, in fact, that without adequate choline, our cells simply wouldn't survive. I love this quote that I pulled out of a study. It's by Gerald Wiseman, MD, who's the editor-in-chief of the FASEB Journal. And he said the importance of choline cannot be overstated as we continue to unravel the role it plays in human health and development. And I think that's really goes to show where we stand with choline at the moment. As I said, a lot of people have never heard of it, and we are still unraveling the role that it plays because it is a relatively new nutrient. That's why many people have never heard of it. But what do I mean by new nutrient? How can a nutrient be new? Well, dietary recommendations for choline were not established until 1998, which was a fair while ago, but I can still vividly remember 1998. Compared to the early 1940s for other nutrients, which was well before my time. In addition, choline has only recently been featured in nutrition textbooks and included in the curriculum for nutrition majors. So it is a relatively new kid on the block from that respect. So many healthcare professionals will not have been trained on choline. So why has it not, been recognised prior to this, you may ask? Well, this is because unlike other nutrients, where we are totally reliant on dietary sources for adequate supply, so they're so important, we know they're so important, so we need to learn about them because we need them through our diet. unlike those, choline is actually so essential to life that our body is able to produce a small amount of choline. So for a long time, it was thought that dietary intake was not really relevant, was not necessary. But we now know that our body is able to produce an adequate supply to keep us alive, basically. But when it comes to creating a new life, we need much more than an adequate supply. We need much more than an adequate amount just to sustain our life. We need an abundant supply to help fuel the growth and development of a new life and to fuel all that DNA and cellular replication and expansion that goes with that. So the other issue with choline is that our body produces it through the microbiome in the gut. So you need a healthy, strong gut flora to facilitate healthy production of choline within the body. Now, in my experience, there are very few patients I come across who have healthy, robust gut flora because our gut flora is easily disrupted by poor diet, environments, allergens, stress, antibiotics, and other medications. And there are many factors in today's world that are disrupting our gut health. This is probably why we have seen, an explosion of books on gut health and microbiome supplements, because it is such a common condition. It is a causative factor in many illnesses, and it's particularly important in our choline production. And if you don't have a healthy gut microbiome, that will hinder your natural production of choline. And on top of that, as I mentioned before, 90% of us aren't getting the recommended adequate supply through our diet. So I'll just talk about the adequate supply a bit. How much do we really need? Well, the recommended adequate supply is 425 milligrams for women prior to conception. When you fall pregnant, this increases to 440 milligrams. And during breastfeeding, it jumps again to fuel all that rapid brain development that's occurring, increases to 550 milligrams. So where can you get choline? Why are we lacking in our dietary sources? Well, two big dietary sources are lecithin granules and eggs, or egg yolks in particular, are really great sources of choline. Other sources are mainly meat-based sources, so animal sources. They're like salmon, beef, chicken, and your other meats. There are some vegetarian sources like baked beans, kidney beans, lentils, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, spinach, cauliflower, oats and wheat germ, dairy to a certain extent. But the richest dietary source of choline are in animal sources. So vegetarians could generally benefit from an increased intake of eggs. If there is any chance of pregnancy, make sure those egg yolks are cooked well. You don't want runny egg yolks when you are pregnant. And lecithin granules, of course, that I mentioned before that you can get from your health food store. You can sprinkle them on cereal and things like that, or a choline supplement. And vegans especially could benefit from supplementation, particularly pre-pregnancy and throughout the pregnancy period, because their sources of choline are relatively limited. So really important to boost your levels if you are vegetarian or vegan. And unfortunately, as I've mentioned before, this nutrient has not gained the exposure or the notoriety of other prenatal nutrients, although the tide is changing on that. And because of that, it's not included in many leading prenatal supplements. So be sure to check that your prenatal supplements provides choline. And if you'd like more information about choline, I recorded a webinar for the Conceive Baby webinar series with leading choline researcher, Professor Marie Cordill from Cornell University in New York. I've known Marie for some years, and she is doing amazing research into the field of choline. And she shares some of these fascinating insights with us in that webinar. So be sure to check that out. So thanks for joining me today for this episode of Talking Fertility. I hope that has given you a little insight into a nutrient that you may have previously not known much about. And of course, as always, for more information and to have your say on my next Talking Fertility topic, be sure to head over to the Conceive Baby with Tasha Jennings Facebook group. And if you're looking for a more personalised support to help you conceive and carry your healthy baby, check out my Fertility for You program over at Tasha Jennings. fertility.com.au. Plus, I have a very special free program coming very soon called 5 Days to Improved Fertility. So be on the lookout for that one. I look forward to seeing you next time.